The amber sun of Varath 9 hung low over the crystalline forest, casting long shadows through the translucent trees. Captain Joran Hale stumbled forward, each step sending waves of agony through his chest. 3 arrows protruded from his torso, primitive weapons that had somehow penetrated his combat armor's weak points. Blood seeped through the reinforced fabric, painting dark trails across the iridescent moss beneath his boots. He had been separated from his unit during the ambush. The Varath natives, a species the Galactic Council had classified as pre-contact primitives, had proven far more tactical than intelligence reports suggested. Their ambush had been perfectly orchestrated, driving a wedge through the human expeditionary force with ruthless efficiency. Joran's vision blurred as he collapsed against a massive tree trunk, its surface smooth and warm to the touch. His comm unit crackled with static, damage beyond repair. He was alone, dying on an alien world, light years from Earth. The irony wasn't lost on him. Humanity had survived first contact with hostile aliens, had clawed their way into the galactic community, only for him to fall to simple arrows. A rustling sound caught his attention. Through dimming vision, he saw them, 2 small figures emerging from the underbrush. They were cubs, no taller than his waist, covered in silver-gray fur that shimmered in the fading light. Their species, the Kyrath, were apex predators on Varath 9, known for their pack-hunting tactics and surprising intelligence. The cubs approached cautiously, their large amber eyes fixed on him. Joran tried to reach for his sidearm, but his arm wouldn't respond. He was defenseless. The smaller cub, whom Joran would later learn was named Kira, tilted her head, studying the wounded human with curious intensity. Her companion, Rix, circled around, sniffing the air. They communicated in a series of chirps and low growls, a language too complex for Joran's fading consciousness to process. Then, to his shock, Rix approached and grasped one of the arrows protruding from his chest. Joran gasped, expecting the cub to finish him off. Instead, Rix pulled with surprising gentleness, extracting the arrow with minimal additional damage. The cub held the bloodied shaft up to the light, examining it carefully. Kira made a series of clicking sounds, and Rix responded with what sounded almost like laughter. The larger cub held the arrow like a trophy, then looked directly into Joran's eyes. Through the haze of pain, Joran could have sworn he saw intelligence there, not just animal cunning, but something more profound. Rix made a decisive gesture with the arrow, pointing in the direction Joran's attackers had fled. Then, in a moment that would later be analyzed by xenolinguists across the galaxy, the cub spoke in broken but recognizable galactic standard. "Return first." Joran's eyes widened. The primitive species could speak. They understood, and more incredibly, they wanted revenge on his behalf. Kira moved closer, her small paws surprisingly deft as she examined his wounds. She produced a handful of bioluminescent moss from a pouch. Yes, a pouch tied around her waist. The cubs had tools. They had language. The Galactic Council had been catastrophically wrong. As Kira applied the moss to his wounds, Joran felt a cooling sensation spread through his chest. The pain began to recede, replaced by a tingling numbness. The moss was medicinal and remarkably effective. These weren't primitive natives. They were a sophisticated species that humanity and the Council had completely misunderstood. Rix disappeared into the forest, still carrying the arrow. Joran tried to call out to warn the cub, but Kira placed a gentle paw on his arm. Her eyes conveyed a message: trust. Time became fluid. Joran drifted in and out of consciousness as Kira tended his wounds, extracting the remaining arrows with careful precision. Each time he woke, she was there, applying more of the healing moss, offering him water from a woven container. When Rix returned, the cub wasn't alone. A dozen adult Kirath emerged from the forest, their muscular forms moving with predatory grace. Joran's heart raced. Was this the end? Had the cubs simply been keeping him alive for the pack? But the adults didn't attack. Instead, they formed a protective circle around him. The largest, bearing scars that spoke of countless battles, approached and knelt beside Joran. The creature spoke in perfect galactic standard, its voice deep and resonant. "The cubs tell us you were attacked by the Vren tribe. They are not of our kind. They are invaders from across the Great Water, as much enemies to us as to you." The adult Kyrath gestured to Rix, who proudly displayed not just Joran's arrow, but several more. My son wished to return these with interest. We have delivered them to the Vren. They will not trouble you or your people again. Joran struggled to speak. You speak our language. You're not primitive. The Kyrath leader's expression, if it could be called that, seemed almost amused. We chose silence when the council came. We observed. We learned. Your species, humanity. You are different. You were ambushed, outnumbered, yet you covered your squad's retreat. You sacrificed yourself for others. This is a concept we understand deeply. This is why the cubs brought you to us. Kira chirped proudly, and her father continued. We have watched humans for 3 of your months. You do not conquer. You do not enslave. You explore, you defend, you sacrifice. These are the ways of the pack. These are the ways of honor. Joran felt tears sting his eyes. Whether from pain, relief, or the profound implications of this moment, he couldn't tell. My people. They need to know. The council classified you as non-sentient. Yes, the leader replied, and perhaps that served us well. But if humanity extends the paw of friendship, we will grasp it. The cubs have spoken. Let us return it first. They meant not just arrows, but honor, loyalty, trust. As the Kirath carefully lifted Joran onto an improvised stretcher, Rix and Kira walked beside him, their small forms radiating pride. The human captain understood then what made humanity special in the galaxy. Not their technology, not their military might, but their capacity to recognize worth in others, to see beyond first impressions, and sometimes it took the wisdom of cubs to teach the universe that being human meant something profound. That honor demanded honor in return, that kindness begets loyalty, and that the greatest weapon wasn't found in an arsenal, but in the simple act of choosing to return what was given. Arrow for arrow, trust for trust, friend for friend, Captain Joran Hale would survive, and the galaxy would never be the same.